All right, welcome back everybody to the Always Bayern Chelsea show. Today, February 23rd, Sunday, a late night recording, just coming back from up north in Sturgeon Bay. Riding in hot, riding in right to this recording. Hot after a Bayern Munich win today. Yesterday, unfortunately, was a bad Chelsea performance, but I got my Muller kit on here today in honor of the start he had for Bayern Munich. And go ahead, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Always Bayern Chelsea. We'll be doing our 100 subscriber special now that we passed that, and this is a video episode. So make sure you get in there, make sure you subscribe, get in for the giveaway, and of course, watch this episode on YouTube, as well as all of our other video episodes. So thank you for joining us today, and buckle up.
Yeah, and I had to go grab my scarf because I want everybody to know that I still am a Chelsea fan. I still support the squad, even though I have no desire to think, talk, or do anything related to them at the moment.
Well, there we go. Yeah, I mean, Chelsea did have a match yesterday against Aston Villa, lost 2-1 in heartbreaking fashion. Um, I don't know if you have anything to say about it, but it was a little bit of a different lineup, and I actually thought that they looked good for a while, and I thought that I liked the lineup at first, and then whatever it is with this team, if it's their mentality, if it's their just players not playing up to their potential, if it's their coach not getting the tactics right, it's probably all of those things. But whatever it was, it kind of came crashing down at the end.
Yeah, tough to talk about the new lineup and tactics because I agree. I liked what I saw on paper and I liked the first half, how things went when they scored that goal, beautiful goal, Neto to Enzo. But unfortunately, the end result is what has happened now for the last 10, 11 games with Chelsea, where they'll go up and then they'll lose. They won't put away chances when they are playing well. They don't take advantage of moments of brilliance that they do have. And then whether it's mentality, them being young, coaching, I don't know, whatever it is, they just lose all ability to play well and be a team. And so then they end up losing 2-1 once again. It's a scoreline I feel like we've seen so many times. And I think we both predict it so many times now because it's so common for them. So very frustrating. It's really time to be at a loss of words because it's the same thing over and over, which I keep saying. So it's almost like, what do you even say at this point?
Yeah, I thought, like I said, I saw the lineup come out. I saw the changes. Neto at striker, James in the midfield, Palmer moved out to that right wing spot. Um, and I guess Enzo was kind of the pseudo 10. I saw that lineup and I liked it. I thought that it meant Enzo Maresca was willing to change for the betterment of the team. I've been thinking for a while now, you need Palmer at a wing because you have kind of an overload of tens. I guess maybe not anymore with some of the players that were sold over or went on loan over the winter transfer window. I'm thinking about João Felix in particular, but either way, you kind of have an overload of talent at that position. Even Nkunku, who in this match was more of the left wing. Um, Either way, something needed to change in this attack, and it did. So I was kind of giving Maresca kudos in my head. And I kind of liked some of the things I've seen from him and some of the things he's said to the media the last couple days, because I will not be shy about bashing him when he goes on his media tours of saying, "Yeah, this team, we're not supposed to be good yet. Give us a couple years." I'll bash him for that, but lately he's been better, I thought. I've liked what he's been saying. I liked what he's been doing. And I liked this lineup. So yeah, I mean, like you said, what does that mean when the end result is still the same? Where do you go from here? Yeah, I don't know. It's tough.
At this point, a game like this, there's not much Enzo can do. I agreed with him that it was a good response to the two losses against Brighton. I thought the way they came out was very strong, and that had a lot to do with him. Unfortunately, when you have at least three players in your lineup that are dog shit players, it's going to make it tough. And I say that with so much meaning behind it because really, truly, Nkunku offers nothing in this team. He can play anywhere on the pitch. He can play in his preferred position, and he will do nothing. Don't like his attitude. Don't like the things he does. I don't think he will ever score a goal unless it's against some shit European team. I think Gusto is just a mismatch for this team. He's just not doing enough. Even when he starts well, he's just not going to be good enough. Whoever is in goal, Jorgensen, Sanchez, they're terrible. And it's really going to make it tough because that crumbles your defenders, as we've seen all year long. And it also creates doubt and a lack of confidence in your players, which we've seen all year long. So the combination of those things there, I think, is going to make it tough for Maresca to be able to scrounge up some wins. And yes, I'm worried about playing Southampton and Leicester coming up, who are terrible teams, but I'm worried.
Yeah, you know, I think that Gusto just straight up doesn't fit in Maresca's system. I don't think he ever will. I don't think Gusto has a good enough touch to be able to invert the way that Enzo has him, you know? I don't know what type of system Gusto does fit in necessarily, but it's not the type of system where he's needing to control the ball as much as Enzo has him do. And Kunku, I don't know because I like some of the talent that Nkunku has. Obviously, doesn't fit in this Enzo system anywhere. I don't know exactly where he goes from here, if it's Bayern or if it's wherever, but I don't know where he fits in because I couldn't really see him fitting into a system at Bayern either. So I don't know what's next for Nkunku or what needs to happen for Nkunku, but it doesn't seem like it's at Chelsea. And yeah, the keeper situation, I mean, maybe we'll talk about it, but that final goal at the death was just one of the worst keeper mistakes you could ever have or you could ever see. Essentially, a ball right at Jorgensen's chest, and he just kind of drops it into the goal. So, yeah, I mean, there's that. I thought, I mean, right away when Neto contributes that assist to the goal, and makes that great run and the great assist. Um, I thought I was really liking Neto at striker, and maybe I do. I think I do more than Nkunku. Um, he kind of maybe waned a little bit as the match went on, but there's still a lot of questions and not a lot of answers for this Chelsea team.
Yeah, it's frustrating, no doubt. And, you know, I kind of go back to what I said maybe last pod or two pods ago, where I just want them to own being a young team that doesn't have a care in the world. And I think that's the only way they're going to do anything to end this year because they're in such dangerous territory. 4 points from 10th, 4 points from third, which is insane. So, yes, things can go either way. And I do think they're one big match away from turning it around. I think momentum can change just like that. And I think Chelsea, it could happen, but they're on life support right now. They really are. And this could even spill over into Conference League, which I'm worried about, especially with the lack of players, injuries that have come up. So that's still my only hope at this point is that they just give it and just I don't even know how to explain it, but you have to just let go and just let the soccer gods, football gods take over you. And I don't know. I just it's yeah.
Yeah, maybe the Conference League will spark something, Maybe that'll give them some sort of a confidence boost or something because they have not a horrible draw in the Conference League, although what kind of draw it would be a bad draw in the Conference League with all due respect to these teams from around Europe, but they're not necessarily at the level that the Premier League is. Um, so maybe that'll be something for that confidence and that'll teach him to let go. But I did have a couple questions for you because I wasn't sure how much you wanted to talk about this match, and I wouldn't have blamed you if you want to get past it as soon as possible. But one thing I was thinking about in this match, and this is the way that I would have lined up against Villa, and this is what I really thought Enzo was going to do, and he did in the beginning, but I don't know why he went away from this. It's those midfield triangles. I really thought he could overload the midfield, especially with Caicedo and James. I thought he could completely overload Villa's midfield because, I don't obviously know Villa as well as I know a lot of Bundesliga teams, but Bayern did play them this year, and I see Villa with a lot of good, like lethal attacking options. I guess I shouldn't say a lot, but there's some lethal attacking options, and I really like their defense, and how well they are as a team. But I don't know. I feel like Chelsea's midfield would have been able to overwhelm, especially if they would have went with those triangles that I noticed at the beginning of the match, and then I don't know why they went away. Um, you know, do you see that? Like, did you like this midfield with James and Caicedo? Do you think, like, why do you think they went away from trying to, overload the numbers? That's what I mean when I say overload with those triangles, the 3-on-2 in the midfield.
I did like the midfield, and I don't even know if it's a case of going away from it. I think Chelsea are cooked every single match after the 30-minute mark, whether it's them being tired or lack of effort, motivation, whatever it is, but it happens every match. They just completely fall off a cliff after 30 minutes. So I thought that first 30 minutes they did really well with Reece James in there. I thought it looked great at times and has a potential to be great. But yeah, they're completely lacking once the game goes on. And specific to the midfield, I do think Lavia is a massive miss. I think he does so much for the team that people don't realize. And but yeah, I just think it's really a matter of the team just falls off.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. It happens a lot after they score, and they're they have not really been focused for 90 minutes all year. I shouldn't say all year, but they haven't been focused for 90 minutes in a while. That's for sure. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's fair enough. I saw that, Reese, um, Caicedo and Enzo Fernandez, even if Enzo's kind of playing a 10, I just thought it was going to be a big midfield triangle day, and it really wasn't. It really, was for 20 minutes, and then it wasn't. But yeah, the other thing I was wanting to pick your brain about is what's up with Palmer, or where's Palmer? Because for a while I thought that he was still having good matches, and he was still you know, contributing, but lately it seems like his finishing touch is just off. Like, has he lost some confidence? Is it a case of Leroy Sane where he loses some confidence? Because Palmer doesn't seem like that kind of guy to me. He doesn't seem like he is somebody who's like fighting his own demons as much as a guy like Sane. But and I don't want to say Palmer has completely fallen off, but I just have noticed these last couple matches, it just something doesn't seem right about him to me.
I think it's a combination of a lot of things. I think number one is he's not as emotionally blocked as some people think. You know, we've seen the last few weeks, he does show a lot of emotion, actually. He gets really frustrated at his teammates and at himself and at the situation. We thought he was this guy that just never showed any of that or, could block all that out. Clearly, that's not the case. Young guy, so I'm not surprised by that. I think number two, he is lacking some confidence, which is shocking to say, but it's clear when you watch him play and you watch him strike the ball. There's something missing there in his mental state. Number three, a lot more attention on him. We know he's a top player in the world right now, especially in the Premier League. So guys do follow him a ton more. He's getting double, triple teamed at times. So that's part of it. And number four, specific to this match, being on the right wing, he was touching the ball loads less. I mean, in the first half, I got to a point where I was thinking, oh, wow, Palmer's hardly touching the ball, yet we're looking really good. I don't hate it. And then it turned out to be bad from there. But yeah, I think all those things are kind of part of the reason why Palmer's just not himself right now.
Yeah, and it's I mean you always are going to need your best player to succeed, but if the rest of your team is lacking, you can really easily handle one guy if you're another team, you know. Um it happens against Bayern with Kane all the time. So I mean, you know, it just sucks because you want to see the team firing on all cylinders, and then that leading to a guy like Palmer really popping off. But yeah, I mean, I don't think I have a whole lot else to say about Chelsea right now. They just need to get some confidence back. They need to get some momentum back. And I mean, we saw in the beginning of the year, it can happen. It certainly can happen. I think there's a lot of teams right now that are struggling, whether you say it's because of injuries, whether you say it's because of all the matches that are being played. I mean, a team like Liverpool, who I thought at the beginning of the year was untouchable, now looks touchable. They still look like the best team in the world to me, but they look beatable at times. And, I mean, that's just one example, but obviously this year we've seen City, Madrid, Barcelona all go, Bayern all go through their ups and downs. PSG started off the year bad and now is finding form. So, um, I don't know. There's always going to be ups and downs in the season, so it can turn around, but Chelsea needs to do it soon.
If they lose to Southampton or draw to Southampton at the Bridge on Tuesday, they are finishing bottom half, and I hope Palmer leaves if that happens.
Anything else to say to preview that match? Because yeah, that's already in a couple days. Why is that so? Why is the turnaround
Yeah,
so
it's
fast?
just a midweek EPL match. I think other teams try to play Wednesday, maybe Thursday, but um, yeah, I think maybe there's FA Cup next weekend because Chelsea don't play on the weekend.
Mm.
If I'm not, if I'm, I don't know if that's correct. I think that's correct though. But yeah, really the preview is it's the biggest must win you can ever possibly have in the history of Chelsea Football Club.
Yeah, that's a strong statement. I hope we clip that because that's yeah, that's gonna be a good one. Uh yeah, Southampton looks like one of the worst Premier League teams ever, maybe. I don't know the history of the Premier League that well, but they
Facts.
they look bad. So, yeah, they gotta win. Yeah, are you ready to turn it over to Bayern Munich because things were better by a long shot for them today?
If by better you mean 8 big chances, 4 goals, and a domination without some key players, then yeah, I would say things were better.
Yeah. That this was Bayern Munich's best match of the year. You could argue the Leipzig match was up there where they beat Leipzig 5-1 and put on a dominant attacking performance as well. But yeah, I mean, this is one of those matches where you look at Company's track record against good teams and it doesn't look very good. This was one where, Company and Bayern proved that they can step up to the plate against a team that is good. So a 4-0 victory over Eintracht Frankfurt today in the Bundesliga. Like you said, with some key players missing. So I want to run down the lineup because there were some notable omissions and some notable injuries that happened during the match as well. So, Manuel Neuer in between the sticks was a rock today. I thought he had a great match. It wasn't like they were gonna lose no matter who was between the sticks. Most likely, unless it was you or I. But Neuer had some good saves. And Conrad Leimer at right back, Eric Dyer and Kim Min-jae as the center backs, Hiroki Ito as the left back. I thought Dyer and Kim were damn good today. Another match where it's just showing me that you need to rotate Upa and Kim because Dyer can step up to the plate. I mean, as far as the rest of the Bundesliga matches this year, Dyer's solid. Like throw him in there if you really need to rest some guys for Champions League or whatever. And also, please re-up him. Doesn't sound like the Bayern board is going to re-up him, but I don't know why you wouldn't. He's cheap. He's an amazing leader, great locker room guy, and he can step in whenever and play like this. I mean, keep him around. Kimmich and Pavlovic in the midfield. Kimmich got injured and had to miss the first minutes of his season this year for Bayern Munich. Goretzka came in. Thought everybody in the midfield did a good job. The attacking group was Michael Olise, right wing, Jamal Musiala at the 10, and Leroy Sane at the left wing, with Thomas Muller up top at the 9, acting as a pseudo striker, I suppose.
Yeah, this lineup was awesome to see, and it's funny because when I was texting you about your wonderful cat, Polly, giving a prediction, she had predicted Coman to get a couple goals, but really that was kind of unlucky because I think she was clouded by something. But because really deep down, I knew she originally actually wanted to say two Muller goals,
Yeah.
which didn't end up happening either. But then it was funny that he was in the lineup. So when I saw that, I had a little chuckle. But yeah, this lineup I thought was solid considering the pieces that you did have out. Kane did end up playing, which I thought was interesting. But yeah, Company I think had an overall solid plan. Clearly,
Yeah, I agree. And I will say, Polly watches a lot of Bayern Munich and she knows that Vincent Kompany does like Kingsley Coman. He likes to ride him. So she thought he was going to be in the starting 11. And I don't blame her because I probably predicted that too, just based off how much Kompany likes to use Coman. So, you know, ended up not being the day for Polly with the prediction, but she's gonna come back strong. And as we mentioned, I think we should say this publicly. Her favorite player is Harry Kane because of how hairy he is, and then her second favorite player is João Palhinha because that kind of sounds like Polly. So those are her two favorites.
yeah, as I said, just a beautiful, wonderful cat, and cats would definitely love this sport. Picture a bunch of cats looking at a field, but instead of a ball, it's actually a ball of yarn just tumbling
Ah.
across the pitch. I mean, that's a cat's dream right there.
Yeah, I think, I think she would have a chance at making the league. She's pretty athletic. You should see how she jumps around sometimes playing. So, she's only 6, but we're training her to be into a star athlete. So pretty soon she'll be out there chasing some yarn and scoring goals of her own.
Beautiful, absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, so, I I want to say I really really like Mueller playing. I think he needs to play more. I've said that. I think he just adds a level of creativity to this attack, a level of um, chaos agency, a level of unpredictability, a level of passing first and linking up play. And, you know, obviously he's not as fast as he once was. He's not as good as he once was, and in general, but him leading the press, it makes a difference. And I'm not saying play him for Kane, obviously. I'm saying bump Musiala out to that left wing. That's been um, my dream for a while, but I really do think that in some of these Champions League matches, like if Muller would have played against Celtic, I don't think it would have went the way that it did. I just think he would have been able to spice things up when this attack was desperate for spice in those matches. And, everybody had a better match today. So it's not like he's the reason why this was a 4-1, but I actually went on a kind of a bit of a rampage in that Champions League breakdown, begging for Muller to play. And, whether it was Kane's injury that forced Company's hand or whether it was me speaking it into the world with hopefully Company listening, it happened. And, Muller wasn't insanely outrageous today, but he certainly had his moments.
Agreed. I think a guy like that you do need to find time to, especially because I think Kane needs more rotation now that you're 8 points clear in some of these games where you don't need Kane. And today showed you do not need Kane at all times, even against good teams. Then don't play him. And he's picking up a few knocks here and there. Might as well give him some rest. Muller can certainly do the job. He's never going to do anything that really takes you out of a game for the most part. So that would be my move as well. And I think with the attacking options that Bayern does have, and even guys in the midfield that can score goals, even defenders that can score goals, as we saw today, I think Bayern are in a solid place to be able to do that.
Yeah, and the way this match went, I think is proof of that. The first 10 minutes or so was really the only downside of the match for Bayern. Maybe first 10, 15 minutes, they were just sloppy. That I don't know how else to say it. They were losing possession, they were making poor passes, and Frankfurt probably controlled possession for that first 10 minutes or so. But after that, it was really all Bayern. Hugo Ekitike missed a chance in that maybe between the 10th and the 15th minute or so, um, that you don't see very often. Obviously, Frankfurt is missing Marmoush. Frankfurt is a team that I really like, so I watch a lot of Frankfurt. And I do think Hugo Ekitike will be a star someday. Marmoush is more of a striker, like more direct, but Ekitike has some skills that I think Marmoush doesn't. Obviously, not as clinical in his finishing as we saw today, but I still think he's going to be great. Frankfurt had a few injuries as well. I don't think Robin Koch played. He's one of their better defenders, but they still had, some of their top defenders back there. Obviously, Frankfurt has a talented team, but they weren't good today. After that first 10 minutes, they just almost did nothing. Bayern had multiple chances in that first half before they ended up scoring. Sane had a great run and laid it up to Musiala, and he just missed the shot, which was a bummer. Muller missed a shot earlier, kind of a turnaround shot it was just to the keeper. Keeper saved it, and then Muller actually had another shot that was kind of a rocket for Muller, and it was just right to the keeper. Keeper saved it.
Yeah, you knew they were going to score and score a few times based on the majority of that first half before they got the first goal. They were just generating so many chances, and it didn't look like Frankfurt had any clue how to stop them. So I wasn't surprised when the goals did start going in. And, you mentioned some of those chances that didn't go in, but as much crap as we give Bayern for missing big chances, still, when you're generating that many, they're going to fall, and it's not a bad thing. You're still playing well, just happens to be not all your chances will fall.
Yeah, it's hard to explain too, but this match, I could tell the goals were coming the way that they were playing. And even with those missed chances, they were building and building. And because of Muller's creativity in part, but just because of how fluid the attack was today and how they were flowing, you could tell that they were going to score. It wasn't one of these Champions League matches where it's like their big chance is, I don't know, Zane dribbling into the box and just firing a shot that the keeper saves, or Musiala taking on 10 guys and then laying up a shot again right to the keeper, or Coman's shooting a ball into space. Today their big chances looked like they were linking up and things were happening. Um, but yeah, the only downside, I guess maybe the only downside, the biggest downside for sure was in that 43rd minute, Joshua Kimmich goes down. I have no idea what this injury is. They're going to have to do some tests. I don't know if it's nothing. I don't know if it's horrible. It seemed like it was non-contact. He just kind of went down and you could tell something was wrong. Who knows what Kimmich's injury is going to end up being. That would be a massive loss, obviously, if he's out. Maybe the most important player on the team, certainly one of the most important players on the team. And, you know, this was coming. He's played 90 minutes of every match. Nobody, even Kimmich, who's as close to superhuman as you can get, is superhuman. So it's time to sit him down a little bit, I think, and give the man some rest, even when he is healthy.
Yeah, I agree with that last point. We've talked about how Kimmich needs some rest. Maybe this will be the wake up call that Von Sohn needs to see that. Unfortunately, it does come at a tough time as you have important UCL matches coming up here. But yeah, really couldn't tell what happened with him. So agreed. That's your one negative on an otherwise really bright day. And thankfully for Bayern and the fans, they did get that first goal right after that injury.
Yeah, right before halftime, the first goal happened. Almost any match, you'd say this is the best goal of the match, but what comes later arguably is better. Um, Michael Olise, who I thought was the best player on the day for Bayern Munich, got the goal. But it was mostly done by some beautiful link-up play between Musiala and Goretzka, and then most of the hard work was done by Leroy Sané, darting down the sideline, beating defenders, and laying what can only be described as a perfect cross up to Michael Olise, whose shot percentage on that one was 96%. So that's how good of a cross it was. All Olise had to do was touch the ball, and it was going to go into the goal, and he did. And it was 1-0 Bayern.
Yeah, actually funny because it was almost identical to the Chelsea goal, except on the other side. So that was interesting. But yeah, great goal and well deserved at that point in time.
Yeah, and that's the link up play that Bayern needs. I mean, like I said, this version of the attack is what you need. The interplay between these guys, the overlapping, they were just on. They knew where other, their teammates were going to be. Their passes were crisp. They were well timed. Their runs were great. This is what this attack has not been doing for the longest, and this is what you need them to do. Um, and then 62nd minute, we saw a goal from Hiroki Ito. No changes for Bayern at half, and there were multiple changes for Frankfurt. Frankfurt started to just go crazy with subs, but yeah, 61st minute, Hiroki Ito gets his first Bayern Munich goal off of a corner that Kevin Trapp, Frankfurt's keeper, great keeper. He's been around forever. He's getting a little older now, but great keeper. But he just made a mistake here. Kind of goes to try to punch the ball and hits it, and the ball ping pongs around. There's some chaos, and it ends up right on Hiroki Ito's foot, and he lays it in. Super happy for Ito because he missed the entire season with a foot injury, broke his foot, I believe, and then suffered a bad setback in his recovery. So he's finally here now. Played against Leverkusen. I thought did very well against Leverkusen. Actually thought he was shaky in this match up to this point, kind of lost the ball a few times, but eventually found his footing, and with that goal, just couldn't be happier for him.
Yeah, and hopefully that gives him confidence going forward to succeed on all levels of the pitch. I think he's been fairly solid, as you said, so far since coming back from injury, and he could potentially be a guy that kind of stakes his claim in this team if he plays well. There's a lot of defenders that can play multiple spots, whether it's, left back, left center back, whatever the case may be, but you need to rest some of your guys. We've talked about Kim and Upamecano wanting to rest guys like them. So if Ito can really show that he's an important depth piece, that'll be huge.
Yeah, agreed. And I think Ito easily could play that left center back role. I think, Kim needs some rest. I talked about this after the UCL match, but Kim needs to be rotated more. Upamecano too, especially because Upamecano is picking up these injuries. Company rode these guys into the ground, and this is where we're at now. They're both injured. That's what's going to happen. That's what happened last year. Um, because Company refused to use Dyer for so long, this is where we're at. But I do think Hiroki Ito is good enough to do it. I think he can step into that center back role. There are some matches where I would start a guy like Dyer or Ito over Kim. Some of these Champions League matches where his positioning decisions are so costly and they're leading to goals. You know, I would play him. I think Kim has fantastic individual talent, and I'm not calling for him to be benched forever, but there are just some matches now where I think you need a guy like Dyer or Ito, but Dyer's communication is so valuable at this point where I'm playing him over Kim in some of these Champions League matches. I just am.
Yeah, those are decisions that company will have to make, no doubt. And once again, if you have to make those decisions, that's only a good thing for your team. And it means that you have guys available that are playing well.
Yeah, I agree. Back to the match. In the 64th minute, we saw some potentially curious substitutions that you alluded to earlier. Harry Kane coming on and Alphonso Davies coming on with Thomas Muller and Hiroki Ito coming off. So, um, yeah, what do you make of those subs? And then I guess I'll give what I make of them.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, I didn't see a point of bringing Harry Kane on. And I'm not going at that from a tactical perspective at all. Whether you think he provides better defending than Muller, which he certainly does, better playmaking, he's a better player. But at that point, I think when you're up 2-0, I believe it was still at that point.
Yep,
So,
yep.
you know, you're playing so well as a team. just didn't seem necessary. You could have brought somebody else on, in my opinion. I just don't think you need to risk Kane. Davies, I'm completely fine with him bringing on. He's kind of had some sparing minutes as it has been lately, and so I think you kind of go along with that for him. So I had no problem with that part of it.
Yeah, I think I agree with you overall. I was kind of surprised to see Kane coming on. I thought that with a two-goal lead, he wasn't going to come on. I thought it was going to be the kind of thing where, if it's 0-0 in the 75th minute or something, Kane comes on and tries to provide that spark. Um, because yeah, I think you need to rest him. I think just with all these guys who are picking up injuries, you need to rest them for the Champions League. And I'm not even someone who's necessarily going out there saying that the league is done, but Bayern's in a good position in the league right now. I mean, that's obvious. And without a crazy implosion, they're well on their way. So I think you have to pick and choose when to rest these guys, when to play these guys. And when I texted you, I was wondering, is this a move? I thought it was a defensive move because, funnily enough, Kane being one of the best strikers in the world, the best if you're, in my brain, I think he's the best. But oddly enough, he's actually so important to their defense a lot of times, especially in that Leverkusen match recently. Um, just the way that Kane plays box to box, basically, which is crazy to say, almost like a defensive midfielder at times. He's so important to the defense. But I thought about it some more, and I think that this was just one of those pre-planned subs that Company has. He does it a lot, actually, where, before the match, he just says Kane's coming on 65th no matter what, and then that's what happens. So I think it was one of those situations. The other day against Celtic when Muller came on in the 95th minute for a grand total of 2 seconds. Um, there were actually a lot of people that took that the wrong way and thought that was disrespectful to Muller to do that. But I think that was actually one of those pre-planned subs too, where he's just was always going to throw Muller on at that point. Um, I believe Company actually said that in a press conference when somebody asked him, what was he trying to send a message, or what was going on there. So I think maybe this was just one of those instances.
Yeah, probably was. I think both of them probably were, Kane and Davies. So it makes sense. I get you do that at times. As I said, you want to get guys minutes, so fair enough. And when you're up 2-0, you can pretty much do whatever you want at that point. So fair play to Devon Cohn for that one.
Yeah, after that too, Bayern kind of kept rolling. It wasn't one of those matches like we've seen where he makes these subs and then everything falls apart. The attack was still fluid. The attack still looked great. Some big chances after that. Sane had pretty much an open net that he just missed. I don't know why he didn't go right. The whole right side of the net was open for sure. And he kind of tried to go top bins, I think, and missed a little bit left and high. So, little weird moment there, but also, Sane was, I thought, good overall in the day. I mean, he missed some chances like that, but he was creating in a way that this attack hasn't seen. Even that chance that was open that he missed, he created that. So it's tough to really harp on him too much, although I'm sure a lot of people will. A lot of people like to harp on him. Um, but yeah, then the 83rd minute was when we saw that third goal happen, and this was probably the most magical moment of the game. So I don't know if you want to call this moment of the match. I think maybe I'd give that first goal moment of the match with how it blew things open, but this was the magical moment of the match from the magic man himself, Jamal Musiala. Um, just dribbling through the entire team, pretty much falling over near the box, maybe even in the box, getting back up, controlling the ball while he falls over and gets up and scores is, I mean, just what do you even say about that?
Yeah, really nice goal and saved him from having what you would have considered a poor day. You had kind of been harping lately on how he hasn't been up to his normal self, which is completely fair. And you could see the relief on his face in his actions in the way that he celebrated. I mean, I don't know if I've ever seen somebody that insanely fired up for a goal when you go up 3-0 in a regular season match. But yeah, good on him for making that special moment himself and scoring the goal, and that's why you pay Musiala a lot of money, and he's known as one of the most exciting players in the world.
Yeah, totally. And that's what I was going to say next is he was not having a good match up to that point. He missed that chance that I talked about earlier from Sane, but just still continued to not look like himself. As we've been mentioning, as I mentioned in that last episode, he was, um, you know, and to be fair, two things to be fair. One, I'm pretty certain he's still dealing with the effects of this flu he had, even though it's been like a month. I think when you're a professional athlete and you have to run as much as a soccer player does, I think that is still wearing him down. He looks like he's been gassed. Oftentimes, when they show him in these matches, he just looks tired to me. Um, and the other thing too is him not playing up to his standards is still a fine match for quite a few players. So that's one other thing to mention. But yeah, up until that point, I didn't think he was doing anything great. And then, as I've been saying, I fully expect him to be fine. I don't think this is going to derail him or anything. But this I can cross my fingers and hope that this is one of those moments that just gets him right back on the right track where he'll be able to start producing again in these big, big Champions League matches coming up.
Yeah, and moments like that can be huge for a guy or for a team. That's the type of moment that I think could change Chelsea's season. I'd love to see a goal where somebody just goes all out and then they show that emotion because it's like, oh, finally we did it, you know? And for Musiala, that might just be it, which could not come at a better time for this team.
Agreed. Yeah. Yeah, and then after that 85th minute, we did see Coman and Gnabry come on for Sane and Olise, I think. No, Musiala and Olise. In that 85th minute or so. And then 92nd minute, I believe, into stoppage time, we saw Gnabry nutmeg the keeper, which was nice for a goal. So that was how that fourth goal happened there. And Coman got that assist too, I believe. So the subs coming in and having an impact, which is nice because we've talked about it for a while, but the left wingers just have not been producing. And so to see that, it was nice. Um, it wasn't a great shot. I'm not going to say this is going to be Gnabry's turning point moment again because I don't know, but it was nice to see him get a goal, and I think that's going to be great for his confidence. But yeah, it was one of those things where it literally just went between the keeper's legs. Again, Kevin Trapp, who I respect so much as a keeper, did not have a good match today. Frankfurt, who I respect as a team, did not have a good match today.
To be fair to Gnabry, though, I mean, he's trying to go between his legs there because you see that often enough with goal scorers. So I'm pretty positive, at least, that they're trying to do that, at least trying to go low.
He was.
I
He's
think
done
just
that before. Yeah.
yeah, with the way they slide down the keeper, I think it just leaves him vulnerable in that spot. So yeah, it was a nice goal, I thought.
Yeah, and it was one of those classic Gnabry goals where it's so direct too. Like he just goes right in there, and yeah, I think that is what he was trying to do. The keeper having to make themselves so wide and spread apart, arms and legs spread apart, you are going to be vulnerable there. So it's an option, and yeah, it was nice to see. Um, but again, Bayern's attack today just was high flying. Putting the pressure on constantly, and when that's happening, any of these guys can score. But when it's not happening, you need somebody to step up, and that's kind of what we've been waiting for. It's been, um, it's been Michael Olise, and I want to just transition right into the match awards here because Michael Olise was my man of the match, like hand over fist. I just thought he was doing the most. Um, and he was such an important part of why that attack was so creative, especially when Kimmich goes out. Kimmich is a guy who is oftentimes playing crosses into the box, but today it was Olise just left and right, which is something that Olise does, but it seemed like he was, you know, not necessarily the one who stepped up in Kimmich's absence because they all kind of did, but I don't know. It's just something about what Olise was doing to this attack today just really had me going.
Yeah, Elise is a star at this point for Bayern. He's been super consistent as of late. I talked about earlier on in the year how I just wanted him to be more consistent and show his flashes of talent all the time instead of some of the time. And he's really doing that lately, doing a lot of good things, scoring, assisting, providing a lot of great fluidity for the team. So credit to him for that. I don't really have much in terms of awards except for saying that yeah, he's definitely up there with what I expected from him. So
Yeah, agreed. It's tough to give awards for this one because I actually think a lot of players had their moments of brilliance and then also had some shaky moments. For example, Sane scoring, or I guess providing the assist, but then also missing an easy shot, and Sane doing great things throughout the match as well. Hiroki Ito, I mentioned, scored, but also looked shaky at times. I think I would give the defender to the center back pairing. Just Kim and Dyer were both great today. Um, I think the midfield was so good too, even without Kimmich, Goretzka, and Pavlovic did great. Pavlovic again continuing in that upward trajectory of getting back to where he was. His vision is so important for this team. His passing accuracy is so important. Um, you know, you have somebody like Goretzka who's this physical box to box presence, good on the defensive side, good on the offensive side. And then you have Pavlovich, a different profile, somebody who's similar to that Tony Kroos profile of just insane vision, insane accuracy, really can help kickstart things on the attack. And then you have Kimmich, who um, probably didn't have his best match, but also got hurt early, so it's tough to tell. But, you have Kimmich, who's somebody who drops back out of possession and kind of plays that third center back role, and then in possession is banging crosses into the box. So, um, yeah, I mean, just great overall in the midfield. Underrated fireball. I got to give to Thomas Muller. I just always do. He was so impactful today and how creative the attack was.
yeah, those are definitely good awards. Again, I'm just gonna shout out Neuer. Not that he had to do much, but always like to give a keeper love on a day where they have a clean sheet.
Yeah, and he did make some good saves too. So that's a good call there. Um, but yeah, now Bayern Munich plays Stuttgart, I believe, on Friday in the Bundesliga. So that'll be another tough one before heading to, actually before Leverkusen comes to Bayern for the first leg, and then Bayern heads over to the Bayerina for the second leg. And then in between those matches, I want to say we got Bochum. The Bundesliga schedule slows down a little bit here after the Stuttgart match. They have, I want to say, the likes of Bochum and Union Berlin. Um, and then, towards the end of the season, it picks up a little bit again with Leipzig and Mainz and Gladbach. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. I just want to stress rotation. I hope that Bayern doesn't, I hope their attack doesn't continue or doesn't fall back into a slump. I hope they build off of this performance and, um, hit the ground running because if they play like this, they can beat Leverkusen, no doubt. If they play like they did against Celtic, they'll lose. That's just how I see it.
Yeah, definitely continuing on that important stretch for Bayern. Getting a big win here will be a big step. Need to carry the momentum into Friday and then into the UCL where we will see if Von Son can lead the boys and really come up big for this team and for the fans and for the community.
And for me personally, and for us
Very true.
at always Bayern Chelsea, um, a deep UCL run, maybe that'll just be the fire we need to really get going here. Um, But yeah, I mean I made a short about it. That's gonna be a tough match. Atletico would have been a tough match. I would have preferred Atletico just because I like that international aspect of the UCL, and we've now gonna be seeing Leverkusen 5 times in one season. In terms of difficulty, either one of them can be difficult. I don't think I necessarily had a preference there. I wanted to see some of that Spanish spice.
Would have been interesting for sure to see Bayern go up against the Gal Dog over at Atletico. They got a decent team. I just don't think they're quite as good as Leverkusen. So I think Leverkusen's more of a challenge. I think it's just very interesting tactically to play a team 5 times in 1 year, and Bayern is certainly due for a win.
Agreed. I mean they've struggled hard against Leverkusen lately, and I think that tactically Atletico would have been I don't know about easier, but maybe a better matchup for Bayern. I think that Company's ability to hold possession would have been really big in that one. And I think that eventually, like you said, eventually Bayern would have broke through because, like you said, just the talent. I think Bayern has that talent to do that. Um, but yeah, Leverkusen is going to be so interesting because the first time they played in the league, Xabi parked the bus and got a draw, and the second time they played in the league, Company parked the bus and got a draw. So, you know, and then I guess the Pokal match was so weird of a match because Neuer got that red card so early, and Bayern looked like the better team in that one, but lost. So it's gonna be weird. But it's gonna be super exciting. Like I'm so jazzed up about those matches. I think it's gonna be great. And um, yeah, I mean, like you said, Bayern's due. All respect to Leverkusen, though they're a great team, but it's time to make a run at this home final in Munich in the Champions League.
Yeah, definitely agree. And I would say if you are that jazzed up, we should probably take a stroll on down to Caroline's one of these days.
Ah, there we go. Listen to some live jazz music at Caroline's in Milwaukee. We've been throwing out the Milwaukee plugs with St. Paul's Fish Market and all this stuff. So if you're ever around town, hit us up. But only if you're subscribed. You cannot hang out with us if you're not subscribed.
I will disagree. I think if you come up to me and say that you know me from Always Bayern Chelsea, I will talk to you.
Well, there we go. That was me trying to shoehorn in that end of the episode. Subscribe, plug, video episode, YouTube channel. Check us out on all platforms, and we will have coverage for these big time matches. And we will be there when Chelsea turns things around at some point and becomes the fastest team in England, the youngest team, you know what I'm trying to say? The most exciting youngest team in England.
Yeah, every other team is really scared of their model now. So, and that wasn't a brief put out by Chelsea at all. It wasn't like a fake thing. That's just Man City, Liverpool, Arsenal.
They're
They're
shaking in their
so
boots.
scared of Chelsea. They're terrified of what's happening at Chelsea right now. So clearly, they're going to turn things around.
Well, there we go. Thanks for hanging with us. Thanks for sticking with us. And especially, you're not going to want to miss it when that happens. So, that'll be about it for us today. We'll be back next time for coverages of the next matches. Mia San Mia.
Up to Chelsea.